So tell me, is you ready, baby? Tell me, is you ready, baby?
Okay, so as you can see, I have boxes over here. Everything is piled up. I was doing a little packing earlier today in the morning, and then over here you can see my socks have got little holes in them. And here is the box that has my books that I intend to carry, and I already made the bed and everything. And over here is alcohol section. Like, I'm a part-time alcoholic but a full-time reader. Yeah. Greetings, my fellow YouTube people. Now I know I'm supposed to do a third episode of my book review series, but I haven't had time because I'm moving from the place that I've been. Now be going back to my permanent residence, like the place that I'm supposed to be. So in the morning when I was packing my books over here, as I was packing them one at a time, one at each go, I realized that each book has a story behind it, like how I acquired each book. And so I thought to myself, rather than doing a book review, because I've been planning to do either Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life or Khalid Hosseini's And the Mountains Echoed, or Haruki Murakami's Colorless to Kurutazaki and his Years of Pilgrimage. So amongst these three books, like, they're the ones that I wanted to review. But as I was packing the books into this book, like when I was placing the books into the box, I realized that each of these books have got a story behind them, like how I acquired each book. So in this episode, in today's, not an episode, sorry. So in this video, rather than having to review the book itself, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through something that I intend to call the story behind the book. Right? I'm gonna grab my book over here, and then I'm gonna talk about each book and how I go to acquire which place I bought it from, if I bought it. I won't talk about how much I got it because most of these books are expensive. So I don't want to be seen as a person who splurges, but I do splurge on books. But I don't want people to see me like that guy. So over here is Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life, and it's got an antidote to chaos. So I'm sure most of you know who Jordan Peterson is. Like, he's an internet sensation nowadays, especially amongst young people, young men. So this is Jordan Peterson. Also, at this particular time, I would like to shout out at the legit Fat Law. That's Lombe. She was the curator. She was a curator. I don't know if it's curator or curator for Curate Reads, and there was a. This is Twitter. I shared a tweet. I said, ebooks and paperbacks are just as good as ebooks. And so later on she said, I'm gonna come for you. I'm gonna get you. So I said, before you can do that, I'm gonna do a YouTube video. So this is it. So this is Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. I got this book when I went to Beijing. There's a place called Page One. Like, it's quite famous. It's well known. It's renowned, and the books they have are original books, and they're quite expensive. So when I went to that place, and then what happened was, I've always been planning to go to the Great Wall, but I never really had the chance. So when I had the time and money, I decided to go, and this is the first place that I went to, Page One, somewhere around Sanlin Twin. So yeah, I got about 3 books, if not 4. At first, on the first day when I went to this place, I couldn't buy any books because I was thinking of accommodation. Like, I couldn't spend a lot of money because I hadn't secured a place to sleep. But once I did, using Airbnb, the place that I got was cheap. So that meant it meant I could buy more books. I could use the money that I spared for accommodation on something else, right? So I got this book by Jordan Peterson. It came as a recommendation from Malcolm Gladwell's podcast, Revisionist History, and also from a good friend. His name is Paul or Canis Major. His Twitter handle is at Hoflo, fake last name, I think so. Yeah, and then still in Beijing, I got this book. This is it's titled "Behold the Dreamers" by Imbo Lombue. This is the book that I'm currently reading, and I am on this page over here. We have a very beautiful bookmark over here, and this is what I've managed to read, and this is what I'm yet to read. So, and this is who she is. It was a little expensive for a paperback. Yeah, so quite surprising. But when I bought this book, what I usually like to do is each time I buy an author's book who isn't an African author, I try to mix it up and throw in an African author. Okay. And then this book, this is Khaled Hosseini's And the Mountains Echo. This was a gift. This is an original paperback book. And behind it, there's a price in dollars. It was given to me by someone I consider a friend. Her name is Hannah. She created a WeChat group called Hanzhou Writers Association, and she was living in Hanzhou at the time. But once she graduated from her university, she moved to Shanghai. She became a journalist in Shanghai. She's working with Sixth Tone. So as she was moving to Shanghai, she decided to give away some books. She posted in the group, she said she's giving away these books. And so I told her if she could keep this book for me. It's Khaled Hosseini's And the Mountains Echo. An original book. Original because, so Fatlo, I hope you're watching this video. Original because you see this feather over here holds significance throughout the book as you read the book. I've already read the book and I'm probably going to review it sometime soon. And look at it, look at the quality, texture and everything. Original book. Look at the interior. Look at this. This is something that you never get from paperback books. Right? There's this cover over here. Yeah, this cover over here. Very beautiful, see? Almost as beautiful as Namwali Sapel's The Old Drift. Also, if you don't know who Khaled Hosseini is, he's the author of he authored The Kite Runner and A Thousand Splendid Suns, and he currently has a new book. So that is Khaled Hosseini. Okay, let me just place the book back into the cover. So one of the many reasons why I like to get hardcover books, hardbacks, is because they last longer. Right, you can imagine I'll have these books for a lifetime, right? If I don't give them away. So here's another hardcover book, a splendid book. This is called Kalale Tsukuru Tazaki and His Years of Pilgrimage by Haruki Murakami. So this is their only. What I like to do usually is I'll pick an author I'll pick an author and then I'll look at a list of the books that they've published and I'll try to read most of them. In doing so, for most people, especially and for myself, you begin to understand how an author thinks and you'll see some similarities in the style of their writing. But for this author, for example, I've read a lot of Malcolm Gladwell books and I've read Khaled Hosseini's books, but for this guy, Haruki Murakami, he's Japanese and he writes his books in Japanese, right? So this was a translation, and I was a little skeptical when I bought it. I didn't. My perception of translated books is they always lack. I always think they lose a lot of content. Like a lot is lost in translation. So there's one book like 1984 but 80s like is it Charles Orwell, George Orwell's 1984. So he's authored a book similar to 1984, but the 80 is written as a Q, and also what else? Oh yeah, I bought another. I have another one of his book. I bought a book, Sam, and I have a friend. His name is Sam. We bought uh, two of his books. I got Kafka by the. I don't know if it's Kafka on the Shore. It's Kafka by the Shore. I started reading it and got to like a quarter, but I couldn't finish reading it because it was a little similar. This book has got 4 characters. Yeah, so let me give you an outline of the book. So these colors that you see over here, these are 4 of his friends. Like in the book, Haruki Murakami has 4 friends, and their last names, when you translate them into English, they're colors, and of course in Japanese they're colors. So one's name is something like Osho something. I'm gonna review this book and I'll tell you the names of the characters correctly. But here to give you an overview, one of his friends' last name is red, the other is blue, the other is white, the other is black, and then there is him, whose his last name is in a color. It's like a mechanic or an engineer of some sort. So as he becomes older, when he grows up to be a person who works at the railway. So because of that, because his name is in a color, he is colorless, right? So colorless, Suguru Tazaki. And the funny thing is that in their group, this group, they were one, two, three guys, 3 boys, and 2 girls. But something tragic happened, and I'm not gonna ruin it. So yeah. And then this is a book I've reviewed. This was the book that I reviewed in my second episode. This is Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates, right? An interesting book. If you didn't see the second episode of my series, I would suggest that you go and check it out. So this is who Ta-Nehisi Coates is. And the thing also, another good thing about, oh yeah, oh my god, very unfortunate, like this month, was it in August? It is August. The world lost an exceptional author. Her name is Toni Morrison. So she says, this is required reading out there, see. And I have a Toni Morrison book in here. I'll tell you the story behind it. So one thing about Spiegel. Shout out to the God of Minefield, right? Like we're online friends. I've never met these people before. So he's an avid reader also. Like he reads, he knows the authors and and to the point where he knows the publishers also. So over here, the thing about hardcovers is that you can lose the paper and you still have a very nice protective case, something that you wouldn't have with a paperback. So to paperbacks, right, very nice. Okay, so now let's I do although, oh yeah, before I can do the paperbacks, I have one last hardcover book over here. Now I have multiple. I have several hardcover books. Most of them are like, this is a mini library right here. I have a more extensive library back at my permanent residence, my place of residence. So this book, story behind this book is, I have a book plug. I'll probably share a conversation that he and I had one time when he sold me an Amwali Sapel book, The Old Drift. That wasn't an original book. And so I told him I'm not going to accept that. The quality was too poor and I paid a lot of money for it. So I said, no, I'm not having that, man. So yeah, most of the books, if I don't get them from bookstores, I get them from my book plug, because this is China. In China, there aren't a lot of English bookstores that have books in English. There are several bookstores, multiple bookstores, but only a few of them have got books in English. And if they do have books in English, then they're probably going to be like bestsellers. I don't have anything against bestsellers, but what of the suppose the book that you're trying to read isn't a bestseller book? What are you going to do? Right? It's like music. You can't always listen to mainstream artists. You might want to get into the underground a little. So he posted this book on his WeChat moments, and I was intrigued. I was captivated because I liked the size. I didn't know this is the author. I didn't know the author of the Stephanie Meyer. I didn't know she was the author of the Twilight books. Had I known, I probably wouldn't have I probably wouldn't have purchased it. Yeah. But anyway, I liked it for its size, plus the bookmark. My God, the bookmark is classy. I probably should have been showing you my bookmarks, right? Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find the bookmark. So here's the. Oh my God, look at this. Looks like a macaw. If not Hong Kong, then it's from. Yeah, it is Macau. Over here it says Macau. And some characters are similar to Chinese characters because over here it says Da Xi Yang Yin Hang, like the bank of Da Xi Yang. I don't know what Da Xi Yang is, probably Macau or something. Yes, I can read Chinese characters and I can speak Chinese. So over there, beautiful bookmark. Okay, so the author of this book, this is the author, right? Nothing against the Twilight Saga, but that's not my thing, man. Not my thing, but it's for keepsake, right? Plus, it was a second-hand book, so I didn't spend too much money on it. So something to have on the bookshelf, right? Okay, so now let's get to the paperback books, and the first is none other than Beloved by Toni Morrison. Now this is what's the other book that she has? Something about blue, but this is an exceptional book. Like they actually they adapted it into a movie, and the movie stars Oprah Winfrey, so it's kind of a big deal. And for a paperback, it was a little expensive there. It was like 112. Come on. But because it was Toni Morrison, so I was like, yeah, man, for sure. So the story behind this book, the Toni Morrison book, I went to Wuhan. There's a place called Wuhan. I was supposed to meet with a friend. Her name's Raquel. The first time that we met was in 2018. And then we were supposed to meet in 2019, but because our flight was delayed, we weren't able to see each other. But the time that we met in 2018, she's working for a recruitment agency. She's originally from Jamaica, but she studies at the Ivy League school, the University of California in Berkeley, UCLA. Yeah, I think so. So we met on Tinder. Like nothing happened. We're friends, man. We're friends, guys. So we met on Tinder. Then she said she wanted me to show her around the place in Hangzhou. She wanted to see the West Lake, and so I showed her around. And then we went to. The funny thing is that around West Lake there are stores. There's a Starbucks ripoff. So she saw it. She thought it was Starbucks. So we got some iced tea, some coffee. But then as we were leaving that place, we found an original Starbucks, an original Starbucks place, like a store, and she needed to use the bathroom. So when we went in, and then we noticed the cups that they were serving the tea and the coffee in, and the ones that we had were different. That's when we realized they were rip-offs. An interesting story. So as I went to Wuhan, she told me she was gonna come in. She came to China in 2019, and she went to several places. She went to Beijing. She was in Guangdong because she's responsible for interviews. She interviews Chinese students who want to study in the United States. Like she's the person in charge. So she's always on the move. So she went to Beijing. She went to Shenzhen. She went to Guangdong, and all this is paid for, right? And then she came to Chenzhou. The place that I'm in is like Henan province, and the capital is Chenzhou. So she came to Chenzhou, but I didn't realize that. So she said, "Can we meet in Wuhan?" But when I went to Wuhan and I went to a bookstore because I needed to wait at some place, so I decided to wait at a bookstore. And so her flight, in short, her flight was delayed. So when I entered the bookstore, like I couldn't leave, man. When you enter a bookstore, you need to walk away with a book. And instead of walking away with one book, I walked away with, was it two? I think it was two. So this was the first one. For those who don't know who Toni Morrison is, you ought to be ashamed. You ought to punch yourself in the face. Yeah, but on the real, this is who Toni Morrison is. Exceptional author, incredible human being. Okay, so this is the book that I got, and then another. I got Sigmund Freud's interpretation of dreams, and look at look at the cover. My God, yeah, and the price was okay. I wanted to get C.S. Lewis's The Four Loves, but it was a little pricey for a paperback. Man, I'm not gonna get paperback. I'm not gonna pay so much for a paperback. Yeah, so yeah, man. And then these two I got from my plug, the one that tried to rip me off with the old drift. This is an Elon Musk. Is it a biography or an autobiography? I think it is an autobiography because which one is written by? Yeah, whatever. But it's written by Ashley Vance, right? Yeah. So, but he was interviewed, and okay, too much. This is Things Fall Apart, the classic by Chinua Achebe, and this was the first book that I reviewed in my book review video series. Yeah. And if you don't, I don't even know why I should say this, but if you don't know who Chinua Achebe is, this is the man, was or is, whatever. And then these books I got from these two. In my final bachelor's year, like I'm a master's student right now. But in my final bachelor's year, when I was doing my thesis, I have a friend. I mentioned this friend. His name is Samuel. So I was in my dorm room one day. I was at my place, and then he called me. He told me, "You're selling books by the cafeteria, near the cafeteria. I don't like using buy. So you're selling books near the cafeteria." And I said, "How much are they going at?" He said, "They're going at 20 each." I was like, "Are you serious?" And I think I had something like 200. That was before I had a side hustle. Like at the moment, I have something. I'm doing something that generates some income for me. But before that, I hadn't any money, and that 200 I'd saved it for food. But when Sam told me the books were being sold at 20, man, I couldn't resist. So shout out to Sam for that. This is a book called, no, this wasn't part of that. But this one was. This one is David and Goliath by Malcolm Gladwell. To those who don't know who Malcolm Gladwell is, this is the man. Yeah. He's authored books such as The Outliers, What the Dog Saw, and The Tipping Point, and Blink. And he has a new book coming out because I listened to his podcast. He has a new book coming out. I think it's titled Talking to Strangers, so you probably should check that out. This is an incredible book. Malcolm Gladwell is an exceptional journalist. He's an exceptional author. I mentioned it when I was doing the Between the World and Me book review. I said Malcolm Gladwell is to the New Yorker like how Ta-Nehisi Coates is to the Atlantic, right? So this was, and some other books that I don't have. These were the 25 books. The other ones are at my other place. But this one I got from the library in Tinjong School. I don't know if it's a fake hardcover book. But it's a paperback. Like I won a coupon at the place that I hustle, my hustle place that I work. You can win coupons, like library coupons. So I won 100 RMB coupon, library coupon. And so I went to the library, and you can pick any books that amount to 100. And I picked some books like there's one about Buddhism, and some other ones, and some Shakespeare plays also. I think I took King Lear and Macbeth. Yeah. But this one is by Dale Carnegie. I think everyone knows I think everyone knows this book. It's called How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's an incredible book, but I don't know if I can say no. It is a good book. Incredible. I don't know, but it is, man. Yeah, so last but not least, I have this book over here. This book is titled Dear Life. It's a collection of short stories by Alice Munro. Now, this is a very interesting book. Interesting because the story behind it is it's an interesting story. To give it, I'm not gonna get into it. Got some very good and bad and sad memories, and it involves exes. So if you're watching this video, whoever you are, you know who you are. I hope you're doing okay. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the story behind the book, or stories behind the book. But before I go, there are some other things that I would like to show you. Like I have this Black Panther action figure. Incredible, right? It's adjustable. T'Challa, right? And then I mentioned I went to Beijing. I came back with this globe. I don't know what it's actually, but it's something that looks like the globe from Citizen Kane. If you've seen Citizen Kane, you can comment down below. Yeah, I think that's how it starts. Or does it end? Either it starts or it ends with one of these dropping to the ground. Yeah. Yeah, so that's it. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for watching.
Down the way, sweet, sweet dreamin', took me away, sweet, sweet dreamin', didn't ease the pain, 'cause it hurt so